Let's go to Steph Ferrier, who's at Melbourne Airport, where we understand several flights, Bonza flights have been cancelled. Steph, good morning. Lots of travellers thrown into their plans, thrown into disarray. Any sign of people who were hoping to fly Bonza today?
Good morning, Michael. Yes, I'm here where normally you would have the Bonza check-in. As you can see behind me at the moment, it just says Melbourne Airport. So the signage has been removed at this stage from the electronic screen. And we know that there are 3 flights, Rockhampton, Gladstone, and also up north in Queensland. Those 3 flights that were due to land today here at Melbourne have all been cancelled. I haven't had a chance to speak to too many people down here at the moment. Just a couple of other staff that are working for Rex nearby, and they say obviously this is normally where they would be. However, they'd normally only get here about 90 or so minutes before check-in that they would actually open up these counters. But obviously a huge blow to so many passengers whose travel plans would be thrown into disarray, as we heard from Keith Tonkin there just a little while ago. We have already heard that this means that we are seeing all of those flights cancelled, according to the CEO of Bonza today, summarily cancelled with no notice as the company looks to negotiations and discussions about its ongoing viability. But they have obviously apologised to those customers, saying that they are very sorry for the inconvenience caused. Of course, Bonza came onto the scene and burst onto the scene from January 31st last year, promising to be opening up flights across Australia. Clearly, at the moment, that is not happening with all of these flight cancellations. They did say that they were trying to get into those markets that were unserved and underserved. So they had 3 of those major hubs with at least 36 different destinations operating with what they claimed were the newest airplanes that were out there, better fuel efficiency. However, obviously, this is now a big question mark as to what's going to happen with Bonza.
Big question mark indeed, Steph. Really appreciate the update there from Melbourne Airport. Let's bring you again what we know. This is a statement directly from the company. Bonza Airline says it has temporarily suspended services due to be operated today as discussions are currently underway regarding the ongoing viability of the business. The Chief Executive, Tim Jordan, says he apologises to our customers who are impacted by this, and we are working as quickly as possible to determine a way forward that ensures there is ongoing competition in the Australian domestic aviation market. We'll speak shortly to aviation analyst Keith Tonkin.
Yeah, let's do that right now, actually. Keith, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Pretty shocking news on one hand, but others had said that perhaps this was on the cards, given just how the airline had been established, what its ambitions were and the challenges it had already faced.
Well, that's right. The model for the airline was to service routes that weren't serviced by those other mainline operators of Virgin and Qantas and more recently Rex. And there was some discussion during that process that they might find it difficult to make a profit on those routes simply because they had relatively thin margins, and there have been some other difficulties in financing the aircraft, and seemingly here we are now with those detractors proven right.
Yeah, look, it's interesting that running the show is a former Virgin Blue boss, Tim Jordan. He knows the industry, he knows what he would have been getting into. That funding did come in from overseas as well to try and get it up and going. They did want to move away from Melbourne and Sydney and Brisbane. So does it really just show that this country, time and time again, has proven that the airline system as it is now just cannot be broken into by the small players?
Well, the Bonza model was to service those more marginal routes, and that was part of reducing the cost base to make it feasible for travellers to travel to those destinations, and they certainly drew a faithful following. And I'm not sure it's true to say that other airlines aren't able to break into what was a pretty strong duopoly between Virgin and Qantas, with Rex now servicing mainline routes, Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane, Adelaide and others. So there's definitely, where there's a will, there is a way, but Bonza's model has seemingly proven to be difficult to sustain.
It could have been something to do with the timing as well. We've had a terrible rise in the cost of living over the last year or two. I know that Bonza as well was suggesting that the pilot shortage that is being seen across many of the airlines was having a big impact on them.
Well, the cost of living is certainly a consideration, but we are seeing that passenger numbers domestically and internationally are rising back to where they were pre-COVID, and there's strong demand ongoing that is still being serviced. And the shortages of staff, including the pilots and the maintenance engineers, to some extent is resolving. So they started in the most difficult of circumstances, and things are probably looking up better than they were at the start of their operation.
The announcement from Tim Jordan was that they were suspending these flights as they looked at alternative ways, whether they could go forward. Do you think at this point, knowing what you know, and of course we don't see the books, we don't have everything before us, can they be saved?
That's difficult to know at the moment because we don't really have good insight into the situation for them financially, although they have been having difficulties in sourcing and paying for aircraft, with some of the providers recently withdrawing aircraft availability, including Nauru Airlines and their parent company. So there are some difficulties in the background, and if we don't have enough passengers on aeroplanes, perhaps that was the issue that brought them to a stop. We're not really sure, and we're looking forward to finding out some more information.
Yeah, Keith, final comment, anything for customers this morning who'll be watching all this and wondering just what the heck they should be doing?
Yeah, that's very difficult, and best they can do is to wait and find out what the company provides in terms of the follow-up from here.
All right, Keith Tonkin, aviation expert, coming to us live on this breaking news from Brisbane. Thank you.
Thanks.